Hey, my name's Brent, and I'm back here and I'm going to show you some more activities you can do, except this time we're doing a different standard. This is a Math Common Core standard for the 4th grade, and what it says is know relative sizes of measurement units within one system of units, including kilometers, meters, centimeters, kilograms, grams, pounds, ounces, liters, milliliters, hours, minutes, and seconds. Within a single system of measurement, express measurements in a larger unit in terms of a smaller unit. Record measurement equivalents in a 2-column table. For example, you know that 1 foot is 12 times as long as 1 inch. Express the length of a 4-foot snake as 48 inches. Generate a conversion table for feet and inches listing the number pairs 112, 224, 336, and so forth. This standard is for the 4th grade, so let's keep that in mind as we start to do the activities. How I started off was I actually made a PowerPoint for this activity to help teach the students all the different units, and I decided to split it up into the customary units. That's what we use here in the United States, and then the metric units, which is used in Europe and Asia and countries overseas. So let's take a look right here at this PowerPoint, and I'm just going to kind of skim you through it because I will attach this so that you can look at it as well and use it for yourself if you like. Like I said, I started off with customary units at the beginning, and then I introduce them here, and I tell what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about length, weight, and capacity. Customary length, there's 4 different types of length. You got inches, feet, yards, and miles. First, I started off with inches, gave some examples and some conversions there. Feet, how many feet's in a yard, how many feet's in a mile, and I gave some items that you would be measuring in feet. Yards, obviously the common football stadium, and once again more conversions. And miles converted some more times, what you'd measure in miles. And then there's a summary. I think that's real good. It kind of gives you the whole wrap up of it. Now that was length. Let's move on to weight here. There's only 3 things to weight. We start off with ounces. 16 ounces is 1 pound. Here's some items you would measure using ounces. Next one we go to is pounds. Once again, conversions, and then things that we use to measure in pounds, such as ourselves, like dumbbells and stuff when we're working out. And then the big one, tons, such as cars and whales, and then the conversion 1 ton being 2,000 pounds. Now we're moving on to, there's the wrap up. Now we'll move on to capacity. And this one is, to me, relatively the hardest one because it's the one that I don't think we refer to as much as teachers. Fluid ounces is obviously the small one. The great example for that, is the Coke bottles. Everybody has, had a Coke or a soda. The next one up is cups. The measuring cups is the well-known in the kitchen. Once again, more conversions. Pints, the one that everybody knows, a pint of ice cream. Conversions, things that you would measure in pints. Quarts, and this would be stuff like motor oil. And then the big one, we're all famous with the gallon, whether it be gasoline, milk, or paint. And there's your summary of the capacity units. Now we move on to metric units, which is a lot simpler than our customary units here in the United States. The metric system, they use 3 different basic units for measuring. You have meters for your length, grams for your weight, and liters for your capacity. Now, with the metric system, why it is so much easier is because it is a base 10 system. Say, for example, let's take it here, base unit, and you use meters, liters, or grams. It doesn't matter, whether it's length, capacity, or weight. You add suffixes to the word to make it different. How we have like gallon and then quart and then pint, but what is a gallon? What is a quart? Theirs, to me, is a lot simpler because say, for example, I have 1,000 meters. Okay, this is a base 10 system, so as you go up, you're going to take away a 0, and as you go down, you add a 0. So say I had 1,000 meters. Well, that means I have 100 decameters. I have 10 hectometers, and I have 1 kilometer. All right, but say I'm here and I go down. If I have 1,000 meters, that means I have 10,000 decimeters, and so forth. And so, see, it's a lot easier for a student to learn the metric unit than it is our customary unit. And so, and then here was some advice I gave to them. You know, move the decimal place to the left if you're going up, move the decimal place to the right if you're going down the staircase. And so that's just a quick little PowerPoint I did that kind of just introduced it. And the way I read that standard, it talked about both your customary units and your metric units. And I think that's the best way to approach it, is to show them what we use here at home, what they'll be sort of familiar with, but it's hard to remember. And then I'm going to talk about the metric unit, which they're probably less familiar with because we don't talk in meters and grams and liters here in the United States. But I do have 2 activities to go along with this that I think will help. The first one, is relatively probably one of my more favorite ones that I've ever made, is he's called Capacity Man, or Conversion Man, sorry. He's also been called Capacity Man. I've seen him called Gallon Man as well. And, I mean, it is what it is. The body of him is a gallon. And then a gallon breaks down into 4 quarts, and then it breaks down into 2 pints for each quart, and then it breaks down into 2 cups per pint. But the neat thing about this, and the reason I called him Conversion Man, was because you can ask an easy question. How many quarts are in a gallon? 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy enough. And you may ask, how many pints is in a quart? Well, easy. 1, 2. But say you asked your kid how many pints is in a gallon. Well, Mr. West, you hadn't taught us how to do that. This thing right here does it. All right. Well, here's a gallon. Everything that branches out from a gallon makes up a gallon. So I ask them how many pints is in a gallon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pints make up the 1 gallon. And so this is very, very useful for the conversion and everything, and it's appealing to students. That just looks neat, especially for a 4th grade class. So I really like this. Now, this would have to be like a whole group, whole class type of project that you could do, because after 4th grade, it may be a little advanced to expect, even a group of 4th graders, like if you had a couple of groups working together, this still might be a little too advanced unless you already had all this pre-cut out and labeled cup, pint, quart, and so forth. You could make one as a class, or if anything, you could give each of your students construction paper, different types of colors of construction paper, and let them draw it with markers. And the best thing to do is to make this yourself, let it sit at the front of the classroom, and let them draw their own conversion man. And it don't even have to be a conversion man. You can let them put, I don't know, a horse's head up there or something, something different that they ain't, and let them call it something. And then, but also have, the branching out. It needs to look like this. And if you'll look, when I talked in the PowerPoint, we also talked about fluid ounces. Now, with 4th grade, I would not advise doing fluid ounces, but if you have a very advanced group, maybe for your enrichment or your gifted kids, each cup has 16 fluid ounces in it. So it would be like having 16 little fingers on each of these cups, and that makes up 128 fluid ounces for a gallon. Now, like I said, I would not recommend that unless that's with your gifted kids or enrichment kids, or if you just have a really talented class that you think can handle it. But you could also include that if you wanted to. And that is my conversion man. That is my activity for the customary unit. And I also have an activity for the metric unit, which I think is very good. I call this my stairway to conversion. Now, like I talked about in my PowerPoint, the metric system it's a base 10 system. So you have a base unit, and then you add suffixes to it, and you move the decimal place either to the right or to the left according to what direction you're going on the stairs. And so right here at my unit, I put out to the side the 3 units because these suffixes are used with these 3 units. And that's why this one is so much simpler to learn than the customary unit. But what you could do is you could get each child you're going to need 7 volunteers that can bring in different size boxes for this. My suggestion is to start out with a 4-inch box and then just go up by inches as you go down. So 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And get 7 of your kids to volunteer, you know, one of them to find a 4-inch box, one of them to find a 5, and so on. And then once you bring them in, you glue them together, you know, make sure this side's flat so it looks like a stairway. And this shows you, obviously, the different conversion, but the neat thing about this is the all-famous saying, and the one that I had on this one was, King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk. And, you know, King stands for kilo, Henry stands for hecto, does stands for deca, usually stands for unit, like the base unit, drink is deci, chocolate is centa, and then milk is milli. And so that would be like, you know, millimeter, centimeter, decimeter, and so forth. And so the saying helps them remember it. And I will say it does because I'm a senior in college, and whenever I'm converting with metric units and the problem asked me to go from, you know, the problem started out in millimeters and they want me to finish in decameters for my final answer, I still use this myself, the saying, to help me straighten up, you know, where it is. And so I think this one is really good. And after you make it and you can paint it, you know, use school colors, or you can paint each individual box and then glue it together. But I mean, whatever you like to do, you can be very creative with this. But what I would do with this is leave it at the front of the classroom while you're teaching the metric units and the customary units. Leave it like this, or leave it like this to help them remember it, you know. Or even let them make up their own saying. I mean, you don't have to use King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk. I mean, if you think they're capable of making up their own saying, then by all means, let them do it. But this is my activity for the metric system. And so that is my activities for this standard that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Like I said, I'll have the PowerPoint attached to the video as well, so feel free to use it. And I hope these activities help you out, and I hope you enjoy teaching customary and metric units. Thank you for watching, and that is all.